You are listening to Inside IASB, a podcast series dedicated to informing and encouraging Illinois School Board members. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Isaac Warren. I'm the Director of Digital Communications at the Illinois Association of School Boards. And with me today, I have the CEO of NSN Employer Services, which is a sponsored program at IASB, Jorie Cummis. And she's graciously come on the podcast to discuss what this sponsored program is, the benefits it provides to board members, and how you can get involved and learn more about this program. So, Jorie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Well, thanks, Isaac. I appreciate the invitation to speak to you and your members.
Absolutely. Well, let's just dive right in. Just to get started, could you share some information about who you are and what your role is at NSN Employer Services?
Absolutely. So currently I'm a CEO of NSN Employer Services. And I think it's to give you sort of a good context of who I am as we go through this, to tell you a little bit about my background and how I got to this role. I started off with an education in management from the Indiana University School of Business, Kelley School of Business. And I had a concentration in human resource management. So my educational background and my work right out of school was all in human resources. And I was working as a human resource director. So, a lot of the people that I work with now are human resources professionals. And that is my background for the most part. And what happened was I was working as an HR director under a director of finance. And, HR kind of falls under different departments depending on the organization. I just happened to be falling under a director of finance. And in order to get any type of attention from my boss, I had to find a way to not always come to him with things that were a cost to him. That's the only way he saw things. Is it going to cost me or is it not going to cost me? And so I found a way to sort of speak to him and find cost reduction by managing our unemployment claims. I mean, we were doing that anyway as the HR department, but we weren't doing it very well until I came around and I said, well, let's see what we can do. And by just really going at the unemployment claims, we were able to reduce our unemployment costs significantly. And that was how I sort of got into this trajectory of like, I think I may have found a calling. So long story short, that's how my niche became in unemployment and how I rose up to CEO of NSN Employer Services.
That's a really cool story. Thank you for sharing that. And it's really cool that you were able to find that and that spark, I guess, that kind of kicked off the rest of your career. That is really cool to hear. And so we're speaking more about the Unemployment Claims Control Program. That's kind of what we're here to discuss. Could you just provide a brief overview of what NSN is as a whole, and then kind of drill down to what that control program and how that is and how that works?
Absolutely. So NSN is what's considered a third-party administrator, TPA. And we specifically specialize in the management of the unemployment claim process, so the administration of it. But how it works as a full program is we take the initial filing of a claim and we see it through the entire life cycle, all the way up to the costs that it brings to an organization. So if you want to get into specifics for any one of our clients, how it works is when we start a partnership with our clients, we let the state of Illinois know that we are going to be the representative for this client or for one of your school board members. And we file a power of attorney with the state. What that does is it tells the state we are going to be representing this employer for all unemployment matters. And it also directs all unemployment correspondence to our office. So we are literally getting all of the correspondence and handling it from initial claim, where we get the notices. We will respond on the district's behalf. We represent the district at unemployment hearings. And then ultimately, all of this while it is we manage compliance and we are handling the administration of something that is a legal process to participate in as an employer. We're also looking at the bottom line and how our actions actually were able to control your unemployment costs. So that's kind of how the program works.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that high level overview. So just to make sure I kind of understand this correctly, it sounds like um, NSN is sort of like is removing a lot of, I don't know if liability is the right word, but removing a lot of liability from the school district when handling unemployment and kind of handles that on its own, ensuring compliance with state laws. Is that about right?
Exactly. So there's lots of ways a district sort of benefits from us. We have, like I mentioned, the administration of it all. But when we're talking liability, I want to sort of mention that I think there's this kind of misnomer among all employers, and I have seen it with some of your members, that unemployment is just something that you have to pay. And yes, you have to pay it, but it is actually a controllable cost. So yes, at the end of the day, we are here to help reduce any liability.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that clarification and the context. That's really good. I guess for a school district that maybe has, I'm sure that there isn't a school district that hasn't dealt with unemployment claims, but I mean, maybe someone who's a new board member and isn't familiar with how that works. What role? I mean, you kind of already explained what the role is, but this program specifically, how do you can plan on supporting them and their district? Again, kind of talked about you guys are just kind of taking control of that unemployment claim, and so it sounds like it's just kind of like they're passing off this job and they're like, all right, this is being taken care of. I don't have to worry about it now.
Exactly, pretty much what it is. However, there is some participation that we need in order to really manage the liability. So I would say what we do is like we're both a shield and a guide. So we are your first line of defense from protecting you from unnecessary costs. And when I say you, I mean districts or employers of any industry, really, but specifically, let's talk districts, right? And I mean that by it's a very confusing legal process dealing with unemployment claims. It isn't just you just respond and that's it. There's a lot more to it, and so we help along the way to help explain every step of what's going on. I mean, there are 3 levels of appeals to one unemployment claim. And that can get very confusing, very complex. And we're talking an administrative legal proceeding can take place. And if you're not understanding the complexities of the law surrounding unemployment, that's liability right there. So having us look at everything for you, being your eyes, your ears, being your shield from any unnecessary costs, we help reduce, at the end of the day, what you might be paying out. I also look at us as a guide through the process for you. And I also want to mention here, while the process sort of starts with an unemployment claim, I always say to our clients that you actually win or lose an unemployment claim before the separation takes place. So when I say we're a guide, what we do is help school districts before separation takes place, mitigating the liability for unemployment. So the way the state looks at how someone is separated and the reason why someone is separated is going to dictate the liability of the unemployment claim once it gets filed. So if we're able to even stop the issue and reduce liability before that unemployment claim is even filed, I mean, that's a win-win for everybody. You don't even have to deal with the administrative burdens and go through the process. So that's where I feel as though, we're a shield first. If something comes in, we're going to protect you, but we're also a guide to maybe not even get to that point.
I really like that symbolism. I think that really helps kind of explain what the role, how NSN really helps? Because it isn't. I would have thought it's just we call like the district calls NSN and was like, hey, we have an unemployment claim we have to process now. And I don't even think about before even any of that happens. There are things that need to kind of take place. It's like building a firm foundation, I guess, to ensure that your district's set up for success to, like you said, avoid some of these pitfalls. I mean, what are some of the common pitfalls that school districts might face if they try to do some of this on their
Well,
own?
I mean, I can tell you, the first thing, the easy sort of low-lying fruit, I would say, is just missing deadlines. I mean, that's really it. That's the first line of defense. We are actually connected to the state electronically. So if you're doing it on your own, you might be getting your unemployment claim to you in the mail on a piece of paper. And what are the chances it gets to the right place, that whoever's opening the mail knows what it is and it gets to the right place? And that just takes away your response time, not to mention just the days in the mail eats into your response time. So by working with us, when we receive this information from the state electronically, you actually have the district, again, I keep saying you, but you have the full 10-day response time to be able to respond. So we help with making sure you don't miss any deadlines, first and foremost, right? I guess let me just go back to then the process. So as I mentioned earlier, the claims then come to us. And if we are handling this for you, because remember, we would file a power of attorney letting the state know, hey, send everything to our office and not directly to the school. And that helps sort of maintain that line of effectiveness, maybe just making sure you know where everything is going. And that's another key thing. Depending on the size of the district, do you know where your mail is going and where all of that takes place? So not just deadlines, but just making sure that we're getting everything that we need to get to handle these unemployment claims and make sure we're reducing liability. So those are kind of low-lying fruit type things. I think at the end of the day, really what we do is making sure that we're doing everything and following the process as it needs to be. And if you're not aware of that process, and it's a long, involved process, like we mentioned earlier, it's a confusing legal process, your chances for failure, there's a lot of different places along the path that you could just be missing the boat, and it'll charge your bottom line.
Wow. Yeah. And I mean, that just kind of stresses me. I was just hearing like there's just so many moving parts to these claims. And I just can't imagine trying to manage that on your own, especially with the role of the board has so many other things to do on top of all that. Like, that's a lot.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things that we can do for any one of your districts is just sort of like get your HR people back to doing HR stuff that you need them to be doing in your organization. The HR people are involved to the extent that they're going to provide us with information about every separation, but we guide them with a very specific questionnaire. It's a dynamic questionnaire so that they're not having to kind of think of, well, what's the best way to lay this out? How am I to put this together to fully reduce our liability? So our interaction with your staff is it's minimal and easy to follow, and help, again, guide them through the process.
Yeah. Hey, we like easy processes and easy guides.
Yes,
That's always
yes.
always win.
Yes.
Thinking about school boards specifically, I mean, when a school board member is elected, it can be anyone, and it can be people who have a very strong legal background or very strong understanding of how things work at the state level, and other people maybe aren't quite as aware or don't have that foundational knowledge. So in your work and your experience, have there been any misconceptions you've noticed as like a pattern about how unemployment claims operate, or how this program, or they often encounter from school boards?
So, yes, I mean, what I see regularly is somebody coming new to a school board. Again, let's start with the misconception that you have to pay unemployment claims out. Well, no, not necessarily, but specifically for school boards, there's a whole section of law that's dedicated to specifically schools and seasonal layoffs. And so I've seen many districts that we've come in and started with that were just paying unemployment claims because they believe, well, they're layoffs, they should get paid anyway. But what's really not known is that part of the law says if you are an academic, if you're in a role of an educator at an academic institution, and you have what's called reasonable assurance to come back that following year, that person is not entitled to unemployment. So we come in a lot of times and school boards are paying out all claims for teachers because it's summer break. And guess what? You don't have to pay those. But you have to let the state know that this person has reasonable assurance to be coming back in the fall. So that is something that if you've never worked on a school board before, I don't know how you would ever know that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just stuff that's, it's kind of stuck in the school code somewhere. And the school code, we print it. It's 2 volumes now. It's so thick. I mean, you're not going to get through that in an evening of reading. And so it's completely understandable.
No. But what we do with our current clients that are your members is we have worked with them again before any separations. And we give templates of having a document that you can utilize for responding to unemployment claims that shows that this teacher has reasonable assurance to return the following year. And now, like clockwork, every spring, our clients are giving these notices out to their teacher. So even if a teacher goes and does file an unemployment claim, we will have that document in order to let the state know, hey, we did give this notice. Here's the written documentation, proof that we gave it to this teacher and they do have reasonable assurance for coming back. What we've found is that the more the school boards do this on a regular basis, the teachers don't even bother filing a claim anymore. So now you're reducing even that administrative burden, not just the cost, but now you're reducing the whole administrative burden of having to deal with it in the first place.
Yeah, and there's just so many dividends this pays off, it sounds like, just simply letting the professionals kind of deal with it, I mean, there's just so many benefits. I mean, I can't imagine anyone's gotten to this point in the podcast thought, well, I think I could still do it better on my own. I don't know. If someone is interested in this program, what can they expect day one? Is there like an onboarding process, or how would this look like to a district who's who's just got onto this program?
So the first thing that we would do, like I mentioned, the very first step is filing that power of attorney with the state. And then what happens is all the correspondence regarding unemployment comes to our office. And the way we communicate with our clients is through a secure portal. And during the onboarding process, we meet with you and discuss, or you or whoever, who is responsible for unemployment claims, who are the people that will be handling this. And then we do a training for them, not just on how to communicate with us through the portal and how to utilize the portal to know what's happening in real time with your unemployment claims, but also we provide an unemployment 101. And that's to speak to what can you do even before getting that unemployment claim to mitigate your liability. So all of that is part of the onboarding process. And it's more educational based to make sure we can start reducing our liability right off the bat.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds simple enough and really straightforward. I'm sure a lot of boards would appreciate just how simple it can be to really just, again, offload a lot of that work and let the board do the board work that they need to get done.
Exactly. Just to add to that, Isaac, that districts are only paying what they truly owe.
Yeah, that's important. They have the responsibility to be fiscally responsible with what the public is giving them and make sure that their funds are being used correctly.
Exactly. And to just not respond to an unemployment claim or not even handle it appropriately because you're not aware of the laws, that's a waste of funds, of which most school boards don't have a lot of.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's very important to make sure that you know where every dollar is going, that it's going to the correct place.
Yes.
Do you have an example of a success story about how this program has benefited a school district in Illinois?
Oh, I mean, I sort of mentioned one already. I mean, we regularly go in and find that that the school boards are not even responding to their claims. But more importantly, I could say we will go in and they're not responding to them appropriately by letting the state know that some of these unemployment claims that are surrounding it was a teacher, that we need to make sure there's reasonable assurance. So we'll come in, and like I said, we will help train on what that means to have reasonable assurance, how to put this program into play. And then what the end of the day is, I mean, we've saved about 40% in unemployment costs just by responding accurately. Responding one and responding accurately. I mean, it's really a huge cost savings. And I want to sort of explain that school boards, there's a specific part of the unemployment law that allows not-profit organizations to elect to be what's called reimbursable versus a private organization where the private organization is given an experience rating by the state. And that is a rate that, by virtue of its name, it's based on your experience within the unemployment system, meaning depending on how much has been paid out in unemployment benefits due to separations from your organization, your rate will go up or down. Now, not-for-profits have this option of electing to be reimbursable, and it's considered a benefit because that experience rate for private organizations is socialized. If there's not enough money in the unemployment fund, everybody's rate will go up regardless of your experience. But being a not-for-profit and electing to be reimbursable, you're paying dollar for dollar. And so we know right away how much we're saving a not-for-profit. And I do know that there are some members of yours that are still tax rated. And it's something to think about. Another way to consider reducing costs is to look at, well, maybe being a reimbursable where you have 100% control over those costs versus being socialized in a tax rate. It might be worth looking into and making that election. So that's just another little tidbit I wanted to make sure members of your association knew about. If they are tax rated, they have this option to be reimbursable.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure I hope maybe at least one viewer might be listening to this and having a light bulb go off thinking, oh, I think that might apply to me. And if that's the case, how can a board member learn more and get started? What's the next best step for them?
Send me an email, call me, just get in touch with me, and we could speak further. And we'll talk about your unique circumstances in your own district and how to set up a program that works best for you.
Excellent. Yeah. If you, and to any members listening, we have a whole page dedicated to all the sponsored programs offered by IASB, and NSN is definitely right there, and the contact information, it's available there as well. So we highly recommend that members take a look at that page if they want to get involved and get started with some potential high cost saving measures here. Well, Jorie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and discussing what the unemployment claims control program is, how it works, and really how it benefits school districts, not just with monetary gain, but also just saving time in general and really reducing a lot of headache, it sounds like.
Oh, yes, exactly. You've nailed it, Isaac. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast, and thank you for your dedicated volunteer service to public education. If you would like to stay up to date with future episodes, please consider following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, or your platform of choice. Have a comment or question? We welcome listener feedback and invite you to send us an email at communications@iasb.com. Thank you.